up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
Sorry this podcast is coming to you a week late, but life happens. We've got tons of music to talk about this week to make up for it. Starting with, let's just get right into it. Gojira played the fucking opening ceremony of the Olympics on the side of a castle, led in by a headless Marie Antoinette, with pyro and shit. This just had to be like one of, if not the most metal thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, man, that's a bucket list performance probably for really any artist. I mean, opening up on the world stage, and I mean, it's crazy, man. I don't think that Gojira makes a lot of death metal anymore, but they started out as a death metal band, so let's just call them a death metal band. To have a death metal band open the Olympics is something that is I could have never guessed.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like when the Olympics go to Finland, are we gonna go get a Children of Bodom performance during the ceremonies? Because if so, I'm booking tickets right now.
Yeah, man, it was really cool. You sent it to me, and I watched it like I think 6 times in succession because of just how goddamn cool it was, bro. The castle, like you said, the headless Marie Antoinette, the operatic vocals coming in about halfway through. Oh yeah, it was a really cool moment.
Unsurprisingly, a bunch of people are mad about that, calling it satanic. I say fuck them.
I mean, bro, Gojira sings about like saving marine life.
Gojira,
like, they're not all about the Satan, man.
Read the text.
Unless that's what Satan's about. And if Satan's about saving the whales, then I think we need to put more money into Satan.
I assure you, they are not reading the text. I had to listen to A Funeral for a Friend EP like 5 times my sophomore year to understand screaming. To just be like, okay, I get what he's saying now.
Right.
It's a language. All right, only other bit of music news. We got Killer Mike and Jack White both dropping new albums tonight that were just announced both in the last 24 hours. Holy shit, that's pretty fucking crazy. Are you excited for either of those?
I've already listened to both.
Okay. Well, I hold your tongue then, man, because I have not. I'm excited to get into
I
this.
will. Jack White's album, if it's the same album, he dropped it at, so he owns a record label, and that label has a store, Third Man Records. And if anybody who came in on a certain day and spent $20 got a free vinyl copy of this new album,
Slipped
and a couple of people
their
ripped
order,
it.
I believe. Yeah.
Exactly. So somebody uploaded it to the drive. Obviously, I've listened to it, and then
is it the every other album thing? I gotta know. Damn.
I need to hold my tongue because we'll talk about it next week. And then Killer Mike, he is releasing it tonight on streaming. But I'm on the Run the Jewels email list. Mm-hmm. So they emailed it to me a couple of days ago. I could have sworn I forwarded it to you, but maybe I didn't. You did. I just I haven't had the chance to listen to it. The new JPEG Mafia was announced just a few days ago. That dropped last night as well. We'll have a lot to cover next week, but let's get into this week because we have so much to break down, starting with the new one from Calvin Harris and Ellie Goulding called Free. It's no miracle, but it's fine, right? I actually really liked it, man. I love it when these two collaborate. It's not as good as Miracle, but you know, it's contemporary Calvin Harris.
Will it spawn a 2-hour album of remixes is the real question. New one from Madison Beer, 15 minutes. Holy shit, man. I love this one. I love the almost Kiza-esque production on it. Really, really good shit, man. I think over the last year or so, I've really become a pretty big fan of Madison. What about you? Did you like this one?
So we covered her last album. I think it was last year, maybe earlier this year. No, it was last year. This is pretty dancey for her. She didn't have a whole lot of dancey, at least this dancey tracks on that album. This was good, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody's going dance pop nowadays.
I think if you go back to February, she dropped a track called Make You Mine, and that was kind of the beginning of this sound. Not as heavy in terms of the dance sound as this one, but definitely a step in that direction. So I think whatever full body of work we're getting next, although I was not expecting it so soon, I do think it'll be a little more dance forward, and I think she's kind of crushing it, man. Speaking of dance forward, Georgia Smith, new track, High. You know that anytime her voice is over garage music, I'm a fan. What about you?
Bro, that bass that comes in like halfway through, just lovely. Just lovely.
Fantastic, dude. I'm a big fan of it. New one from XG, Something Ain't Right. Last track they released was full rap. I didn't know if they were going to stay in that lane. I'm kind of glad they didn't, because this is just certified bop. What'd you think?
Yeah, we haven't heard from XG in a while, huh?
It's been like a few months, for sure. And they didn't drop like an album or an EP last. It was just a single. So this was nice to get.
Yeah, I like this one.
Same. New one from Raul Alejandro. I do not know how to pronounce the name of this song. I thought the song itself, more of the same, but not bad. What about you?
Déjame entrar.
Sure.
Raul always kills it, man. He doesn't like use a specific producer across all of his tracks like some artists do, but his music is always mixed and produced so goddamn well. This is top tier.
Yeah.
His music is top tier. This track is no different. I really like this one.
For sure, dude. Got the Chloe remix of Nasty by Tinashe. I don't like it more than the original, but more importantly, I do love hearing, too, just like, I wouldn't say up and coming at this point. Both of them are pretty well established. But two R&B artists of this caliber on the same track doing this together, pretty fucking rad. What'd you think?
Oh, absolutely. I feel the same exact way. I think the original is better, but I think Chloe probably came to Tinashe and was like, yo, you want to do this? And how could anybody say no?
Yeah, dude. Hopefully we get another collab somewhere down the line.
Right.
New one from Kyle Dion, BRB. We reviewed his last EP back in like January, and I really, really liked it. I think you did as well. This guy, I have no idea how his like monthly listener count isn't higher. He is so fucking talented vocally, melodically, rhythmically, just instinctually. I'm a big fan of what he's doing. What about you?
You know, man, this is a good track. Obviously, dude's got a great voice, and that falsetto is insane. Yes. But this track, for some reason, couldn't keep me engaged. I found myself, regardless of what I was doing, tuning it out.
Interesting.
And that was strange. It's strange enough for me to write it down.
Yeah. No, and maybe that's it. Like, I'm wondering how he's not a giant star already, but other people are just hearing his music differently. I think that he's narrowing in on the formula that will finally have, like, the broadest appeal while still keeping his core sound intact. I don't think he's far away from that.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't give a fuck if he goes more broad, though. I'm supporting this dude. New one from Money Long called Ruined Me. She doesn't miss. This song is fucking great. Her new album drops August 30th. You already know that's going to be an instant R&B classic. What'd you think about this one?
Money has such a way with her voice, man. This track like feels like an instant classic, like you said. It's funny, our notes are like the same. The layered vocals and the lyrics all combined into something that could have like been released in really any decade and hit home. I really love this song, bro.
She's not genre blending. There's no pop in this. There's no rap in this. This is just pure R&B, and it's done at such a high level that we're not really used to hearing it. Snow Allegra hasn't dropped an album since 2001 or 2021, excuse me. So, like...
I was like, I don't know, bro.
No, but there are other artists, obviously. Artists like that are on this caliber, but another artist who hasn't dropped an album since 2021. So it is nice to finally get one of these artists dropping a big album. Again.
There's something about R&B when done like this that just feels so fucking timeless. It feels... It just you feel it in your fucking soul, man.
Especially if you were born like mid 80s or to late 90s. I think that's definitely true. That plays into this next track perfectly, which is the Usher remix of that Four Bats track, Act 4, Fucking You Again, 18 and Over. I don't think that was needed. I think that was assumed. This is just pure like 90s nostalgia, but the lyrics, as most 90s R&B are fucking goofy. But I think it works more or less. And I love that Usher, I don't know, it could be his team being like, work with popular young artists, but I like that he's kind of like dancing with Jungkook. He's doing R&B songs with Four Bats. I like all this shit. What about you?
You know, man, Four Bats continues to vex me. I'm gonna go into every one of his songs with obviously an open mind. Usher really does his thing on this one.
Yeah,
that's what I have to say. I'm not quite sold on Four Bats, but I'm not turned off. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I think it is getting the rub from a legend, but you're also putting yourself on the track with somebody who's going to wash you on your own track, which is very much the case here. You're not going to out R&B Usher on this track, and I don't think Four Bats was trying to, but yeah, man,
that's true.
I agree. Vexed is an apt analysis for where I'm at on Four Bats as well.
It's kind of like being a rapper and being like, we should get Freddie Gibbs on this track.
Yeah. There's talent there. There is some talent there. There is. All right, new one from Maxo Cream. God damn it. I know. Just great flows, some semi-flagrant to full-on flagrant bars. It's classic Maxo, man. What you think about this one?
Yeah, dude has basically nothing to say at this point, but he says it so well. It's quick, it's short, it's to the point. Maxo just did it, man.
And if he knows his buddy's doing some of those things, he should really say something. I'm just gonna say that.
Right.
All right, we got a new one from Benny the Butcher, Summer 24, and it fucking sounds like a Summer 24 rap track in the best way possible, man. This is just nothing fancy. You pick the region that you're rapping from, in this case, New York, the season you're rapping, the year you're rapping, and you encapsulate that in a song. I think you did it perfectly. What do you think about it?
I completely agree, bro. Every single time Benny the Butcher drops something, I cannot help but pay extremely close attention.
Yeah.
It has been a while since a rapper's really captivated me as much as Mr. Butcher has, but every one of his tracks are like, okay, I got to listen to this. This guy's got something to say.
Yeah. I'm just hoping Amine drops a fall 24 with an iHeart PDX on the album art. I think that would be fucking rad.
That'd be tight.
All right, we got a new one from DJ Premier, Lil Wayne, and Rick Ross. What'd you think about this one, man?
This is my song of the week,
no
John.
Way.
It absolutely is. The production is immaculate. Rick Ross's verse isn't his best, but it's fine. Big Sean's hook is fantastic, and Wayne just goes insane on this one, bro. It sounds like an old school freestyle Lil Wayne verse.
Yeah.
I ran this back a number of times.
I mean, it sounds like it, dude. I'm not surprised at all. I did not dislike this track. I'm not a Sean fan, but I don't think he brought this track. I will agree. The hook on it's good. And yeah, dude, this run Wayne has been on has been really impressive lately. And obviously hearing him over a Premier beat is going to be a pretty good starting point with the Wayne verse.
Right.
Good stuff. This next one is one of my songs of the week. We've been off for a while, so I've got a few. This one is from Mustard, Vince Staples, Schoolboy Q. It's called Pressured Up. Just two of my favorite artists on the same track over one of my favorite producers' beats. Man, this is perfect. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, bro. Vince Staples and Mustard on is a collab that just doesn't miss. They're allergic to missing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really just a follow-up to Magic in that way. Fucking perfect.
Right.
Mustard actually dropped an album. I didn't really think we needed to cover the whole thing. This track was always going to be my standout, so I just need you to hear it. New one from Cordae and Lil Wayne, Saturday Mornings. I did not love the last Cordae album, but everything he's put out since has been really good. This one up there with the best of those tracks, man. I love the beat. I love the feature. Obviously, we've been saying Wayne's been on a run. What'd you think about this one? Did it hit for you too?
Oh yeah, man. We've got a lot of good rap these past couple of weeks.
We needed it too. It's been a drought the past year or so, I feel like.
Correct.
All right, new one from Khalid called Ground. His new album actually drops tonight as well. I still don't know what to make of this rollout, but this is my favorite of the singles we've heard so far. What about you?
Yeah, I think Khalid killed this one, bro.
Yeah, same. I'll give him this one. I've been pretty hard on him lately, so I'll give him this one. He has also posted that this album and his absence has kind of been hey, I was really young when I got successful and I started messing around with psychedelics, and these are kind of how my thoughts changed. Obviously, the music's going to get a little weirder anytime somebody's like, I was messing around with psychedelics. So I'm going to take that into account when going into this new album.
Big fan of that, though.
My other song of the week. God damn it, dude. Gallant, Fly on the Wall, Osaka version. Holy shit, dude. This is so good. Like, normally these genre changes with my favorite artist would drive me crazy. This, I think his pivot worked so well in this case, man. Cold Star and this are just so well done, and he announced a new album finally. It's called Zinc, drops September 27th. You know I already pre-ordered the signed vinyl on that one. What did you think about this one, man?
Hell yeah. Is Gallant like the best voice in R&B right now?
This is not R&B anymore. This is
true.
Yes.
This dude just floats over these breezy guitars, man.
Dude, to your point, like hearing his R&B instincts translated into like an indie rock pop type sound is just so magical, dude. Like the harmonies he's able to just bring out of nowhere when another artist or band doing this genre wouldn't think to do that in that spot. I'm loving it, man. It's great. I just, please tour soon. All right.
Yep.
Moving into the full-on rock realm of things. We started in the rock realm of things with Gallant. All right. A new one from Dirtwire called Cantaloupe. What'd you think of this one?
You know, man, I don't know why, but Dirtwire's music just fucking speaks to me. This is so good.
Yeah, dude. It's twangy, riffy, vibey goodness. That's all things that you love, Brandon.
Correct.
New one from Royal Otis called Knack Nostalgia. What'd you think about this one?
So, John, it's always a little humbling to find a band. I like to think that I know a lot of music, but this band is apparently extremely popular. Have we covered them before? I don't think we have.
I don't remember that.
It's one of my favorite things. They have like 9 million monthly listeners or something like that on Spotify. Awesome. Great for them. This song is great. It's like a mix between early local natives and Foster the People, which are both right up my alley.
Yeah.
I had no idea who they were, and I'm glad I found them.
I had no idea either. Yeah, very good. They sound like of the same caliber of their peers. I think you could say like maybe it's a little derivative in that when you listen to their music, you're going to be like, this is kind of like this or kind of like that. But regardless, it's good.
Yep.
All right, man. New Something Corporate track. Happy. Dying for your thoughts on this one.
Bro, I love this dude's music so much. It always brightens my day. This is cheesy. It's always been cheesy, right?
Yes.
But this cheesy ass song brightened my day every single fucking day it came on this week. I love the fuzz on the guitar on this song, though, which is something he doesn't use a whole lot of, and that was really cool. That was really cool to hear. What'd you think?
And that's how you know it's something corporate. Yeah, dude, I agree. I like hearing him with a little bit of edge behind him. Don't get me wrong, still extremely poppy, but it's a smidgen heavier, and I love that, and I kind of missed that in his sound. So very happy to hear this.
Right.
All right, new one from the Casper fight scene called Young Neil Lives Here. I didn't really know what to think when you threw this one on. I hit play on it, and I was like, that overly direct vocal style doesn't always work for me. But man, like a minute into this song, I was completely won over. Listened to it so many times this week. Now I'm a big fan. What did you think about this one?
I knew you'd like this one, man. I too have fallen asleep watching Seinfeld at just 7:30 p.m. It's like a very specific type of self-loathing.
Yes.
I love this band, dude. Great band name. Really good kind of emo, yell, scream. I love the vocals and the lyrics and the delivery of this. The whole thing is great, man. I really enjoyed this song.
Yeah, hard agree. New one from Armor for Sleep, and Another Dream is the name of it. I'm happy their comeback didn't stop with their last album. I will take as much new Armor for Sleep as they want to give us, man. What did you think about this new one?
That's exactly my thoughts, man. I love so much that we've been getting new music from this incredible band. Do you think we have a new album on the way? I'd love it.
I don't know. I wouldn't be as surprised, but I would give that another year or so.
Take an EP. I really love and often revisit Rain Museum, actually. This track is fantastic. Ben's delivery is always so good, and it really makes the songs the way he delivers the lyrics he writes, you know? Like it really makes it.
Yeah. You and I have been covering this resurgence of the scene and these bands that we grew up with that went inactive for long stretches of time. And I feel like over the past few years, almost all of them, in some way, shape, or form, have resurfaced, different members or not. What band that hasn't do you still want to see come back and just be like, hey, here's a new song? Is there anyone left?
On Broken Wings. But
Great.
that's not that's not post-hardcore stuff. I would have said Bleeding Through, but they've kind of come back. That's a good question. Let's table that.
Haven't heard from the
Oh,
Academy, and they've been touring. I think the Blood Brothers are touring again, but not really making new music yet. There's definitely still some out there. But yes, let's table that for another time, because it leads perfectly into the next song, which is this new one from first to last. Yes, you were hearing that right. The song is called Genesis. I love hearing new from first to last, even without Sunny in the group. I think that this is a good song. It's given me some, like, There Is a Hell, Bring Me the Horizon vibes mixed with classic FFTL. Sunny did use the word Genesis as the caption for one of his last Instagram posts after this came out. I think that's a very obvious nod to these guys for, shouting them out for putting out a new song. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I do think from the language in their post that they do have more new music coming. I think it's just Matt and Travis doing the vocals on it again, which I have no issue with. What about you?
I have no issue with that either. The song is great, but welcome to the hyper popification of metalcore. I really don't think the heavy vocoder stuff adds anything to the song. I do love the glitchy stuff with the guitars gearing up for that breakdown, and I love the breakdown and most of the song. Like, I love the song. I just don't think the vocoder auto tune stuff belongs in it. But maybe I'm the old man yelling at clouds.
You are the old man yelling at clouds, and I am the middle-aged man yelling "I am dog" now all week because of this last song from Chat File. I thought this one was fucking great, dude. Super fucking heavy. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I am so curious if they're going to be able to top both the quality and hype of their last record. But if this song is any indication of how it's going to sound, it's going to be a bit heavier, which is fucking tight. Their new album is out on the record label The Flenser on October 11th. Yep. I have already pre-ordered.
Of course you have. Yeah, man, that's going to be great. If this is any indication, which I imagine it is, I'm very excited for it as well. All right, new one from Ingurgitating Oblivion. The song is called The Baron Oozes Blood and Shakes and Moans to Drink Her Children's Gore. Part 1. What a song title. Cannot forget the Part 1. Can't wait for Part 2, honestly. Musically, this was overwhelming as fuck, but in a good way. I liked it. What about you?
All right, man. Willow Tip Records does it again. I actually hit you up about this band, I think last year, maybe like a year and a half ago. They put out an album called Vision Wallows in Symphonies of Light that just blew me the fuck away when I found it. It's like dissonant death metal. And this song is the same, right? It's chaotic. It's dissonant. It's proggy. It's like jazzy. And it's so, so heavy. I'm so excited for this one, man. They've got a new album out on the way as well. I don't have the date in front of me, but it exists.
We will definitely be covering that one when it drops.
Most definitely.
All right, moving into the dance realm of things to cap off the singles. We've just got a couple this week, starting with the new one from Boys Noize called Fuck Around, dude. Inject this shit straight into my veins. I love the overall sound. It's just yet another Boys Noize banger. Posted the story behind it after it came out, and apparently this was just a bunch of equipment and plugins and stuff that he just wanted to get rid of, was planning on, either selling them or whatever, and just decided to plug them all in one more time to see if they could make a song that he still liked, and this is kind of the result of that. What he ended up doing with the equipment afterwards, I still have no idea, but man, I'm glad he plugged all that shit in again, because this is a banger. What'd you think?
That's so fucking cool, man. I didn't even know about that story. That's amazing. Yeah, that's tight, man. This song goes fucking hard, John. He is closing out Hard Summer this weekend, and this should go absolutely insane at his set.
Yeah, that's the must-see set of the weekend if you're there, I assure you.
Yep.
All right, we got a new one from Chase and Status and Ira called Gunfinger, Salute. Put this on a playlist with Rumble, Batter, Badadon, and all the other club grind bangers, dude. It's great. I loved it. What about you?
Deep, dark, stabby, and British. Exactly the way I like my drum and bass.
And I was about to say, man, I really hope Stormzy works with Chase and Status soon, but they've already posted. I think their song drops either this week or next week together. I'm fucking stoked for that.
Speaking of British drum and bass, we have new Spore on the way as well.
Yes. Yeah, there's so much goddamn new music on the way. I'm very excited about all of it, man. We got one more single to talk about this week. It's from Chris Lake. It's the Clooney remix of In the Yuma by Chris Lake. You know I'm a huge fan of Clooney. I have been championing this guy all year. I still think Sippin' Yak is a certified banger, one of the best dance songs we've gotten all year. I'm happy to finally get an official release of this one. It's been in his sets for a while. I think it was in his Coachella set, if I'm not mistaken. What did you think about this one?
He did play this at his Coachella set at the Sahara, because this is Clooney's At the Sahara remix of In the Yuma, which is just adorable. It's a good song, man. There's nothing else to say about it. Like you said, Clooney's coming up.
Yeah. The crowds that I'm seeing in his live show posts are just getting bigger and bigger every time. So good for him, man.
Yep, good for him.
All right, a few EPs to talk about this week. New one from Deadmau5 / Test Pilot, I guess. It's called Some EP. Doesn't quite scratch the new itch for like a proper new Deadmau5 album, but it is a solid EP. I think Quetzalcoatl is one of the better songs he's done in the last like 5 to 10 years. What'd you think about this EP?
Oh man, like you said, it's not an album because it doesn't have like 12 or 13 songs that are all terribly titled, but this is the first real Deadmau5 drop in a while. Yeah. And I think it was worth the wait, dude. I love that he collaborated with himself for that Test Pilot track. Quetzalcoatl, like you said, is obviously incredible, but the two new tracks that we got are equally as fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sever is just gorgeous and layered, as is most of his stuff. This EP actually kind of feels like a classic release of his by default, almost. But Input Output is a dearing and heartfelt tribute to the late label mate of the MUSE, I.O., which happens to stand for Input Output. Yep. It's a combination, apparently, of a couple of melodies that we've heard before from Deadmau5 and I.O., but they're all put together in a way that Joel confirmed on Reddit that he says Garrett would have really liked. This whole thing was on repeat for me for these last 2 weeks, Sean. I cannot wait for a new Deadmau5 album. In fact, I need it like immediately.
It's been a long time. I mean, if you're going proper albums, it's been since 2016. So, yeah, I
think is while one is less than two or something like that.
It was while, yeah, for sure. And hey, man, it's either going to be Deadmau5 or Rihanna. One of them's got to drop first, right?
Right, Normani already dropped. So.
Yeah, finally, Jesus Christ. All right. Did that Joywave EP ever drop, man? All right, we got a new EP from Wolf Tyla called Star Pop, dude. This whole EP is a certified bop. Updown, I should say, is my favorite on here, but Soulmate is pretty great as well. I found her through random shuffle radio recommendations on a road trip like a month or two ago, and I've just had her shit on repeat ever since. What'd you think about hearing her stuff?
I'm really glad you enjoyed it, John. She's clearly got a sound that feels authentic, and doing a little bit of research, she's clearly like going in a direction that she wants to go. I had never heard of her. Like you said, you just found her. This might not be for me, but objectively, it's very well produced. I think her voice is good, but I think it sounds like every other lightly auto-tuned R&B pop girly voice nowadays. But I hope she continues to dive into her sound and make music that she likes, as it does sound authentic, which I think is rare in the pop world nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said, man. I wasn't sure if it would be for you, but I'm digging it, so I'm going to force you to listen to it, God damn it.
Do it.
All right, we got this.
Hell yeah.
Finally, we got an EP from Haley Knox called For the Best. You already know I love this. I've been a fan of hers for a little over a year now. I'm incredibly happy to finally have an actual EP to sink my teeth into. Her voice, her production are just perfect for the style of R&B that she does. This whole EP is sequenced beautifully. It's a banger, man. What'd you think?
Every track on this EP is great.
Yeah.
I love the production on the whole thing. It feels organic. It feels authentic and purposeful. Haley's voice is just genuinely great and like powerful on this thing all the way through. What a fantastic debut, man. Everybody should be talking about her, and like nobody is. This whole EP is just sublime. Big fan. I cannot wait to see what she does in the future.
Dude, same. New EP from Calling All Captains. It's called Emotion Sickness. What'd you think about it?
This one was released on New Damage Records. We have this EP from Calling All Captains that meets at the ever so popular intersection between emo and pop punk. We've got some great screamy moments, some cool down tempo moments, and quite a bit of energy for an EP that's like, I think, less than 20 minutes. And it all works. I was a big fan of this for the last couple of weeks, man. I'm sure I'll become fond of their discography if it sounds anything like this.
Yeah, dude, fucking same. I'm a big fan of it as well. Just that their blend of like pop punk, post-hardcore is so fun to listen to. Goes from circle pit energy to two-step energy to full-on mosh pit energy in the first 5 minutes alone, man. It's all great. I think Be Cool is probably my favorite of the bunch just because, you know, I like them screamy breakdowns and this type of shit. And they did it very well on that track.
Yes, sir.
All right, new EP from Clar called Body Whispers. I thought this one was short but substantial, really fun energy. Exoskeleton, probably my techno song of the week. What did you think about this EP?
Exoskeleton's a fucking banger, bro.
Yeah.
Clar is back with one out of the Vault Sessions records. He had my favorite techno mix of 2023, which was right. It was really kind of tied, and in fact, at the same festival as that Roadhead mix from last year. There were quite a few that I enjoyed last year, but he killed it, man. This is just proper techno with an emphasis on like hypnotic sounds and drums.
Yep.
You know, that's right up my alley. Anyone whose taste aligns with me, it'll be right up your alley, I promise.
Same, yeah. All right, man. New EP from Electric Rescue. Mia Mao 003 is the name of this release. A lot of texture, very frantic, but still danceable somehow, and very fun, man. This feels very out of the box at times for techno, but I think that's what I really enjoyed about this EP. What do you think about it?
Oh yeah, man! It's like madness on all levels, and the tempo is like just what I needed when I needed a boost for the last couple of weeks. This is it's like frenetic, right? Mm-hmm. Like it like makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit. Yeah, it was really cool, man. I chose this one. This is on Mia Mao Records, as the EP title suggests. It's only the third release from them, so I'm going to be following them, see what else they put out. And Electric Rescue really killed it, man.
Agree. All right, new EP from Tracheotomy called Fixed Propensity for Destruction. I thought this EP is great, man. I love that you can skip to any point in it, and you will most likely be in the middle of an extremely heavy breakdown. That's just fucking rad. This is a great release. What'd you think?
You know, John, I don't really listen to as much deathcore as I used to, probably because most of it doesn't sound like this.
Yeah.
My boy Christian put me on this band, and I cannot state enough how much I actually thank him for it, because this is exactly, in my opinion, what the deathcore scene has been missing. It is heavy as fuck. There are breakdowns everywhere you look, raw vocals while still having pretty fantastic control of the lows versus highs. Interesting riffs, some great fret pulls, great death metal tremolo picking, man, obscure pop culture sampling. Bro, this is MySpace all over again. I loved it. Great job, Tracheotomy.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. One more EP this week. It's from Seabreeze, The Lost Caves. You didn't send me the blotter paper that's supposed to come with this release, but I still enjoyed it, so thank you for adding it. What did you think?
Who doesn't need a British surfy psych rock with no vocals for the remainder of the summer? I threw this on because it's fun, bro. That's what it is. It's fun.
It is very fun. Thank you for throwing it on. It was kind of a nice break in the podcast this week.
Right. It was good. I mean, almost like a sea breeze.
Speaking of, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the albums. Starting with the new one was from Childish Gambino. Bando Stone in the New World is the name of it. I like this album, but it's not a very exciting to note. It's not a very exciting note to end the Childish Gambino moniker with, in my opinion. As a fan of him as a rapper, I was really happy to hear Yoshinoya. That classic Atlanta flow over that beat is one of the stronger moments of the album for me. We get to hear his beautiful singing voice at its best, or at its near best, on the track In the Night with Georgia Smith and Amaray. No, Brandon, I will not shut up about Amaray. And we get to hear him fuse kind of both sides of his sound really well on a few of these tracks. I think the best being Survive with Chloe. All three of those tracks alone make the floor for this album like a 6 for me. But I don't have a lot of high marks to talk about beyond that, especially now that we've had kind of 2 weeks to digest this one. I found the intro to be ambitious, but ultimately forgettable. Lithonia feels too closely tied to the movie this album is also a soundtrack for, which I have another million thoughts on that shit. I thought Talk My Shit was going to be an instant add to my rotation, but I rarely go back to that one now. The song with Yeet just doesn't do much for me. Sorry, Portland, don't kill me. And most of the other tracks on here just aren't even really worth talking about, in my opinion. I think it's a good album. Could have been a little better. I have it in the 6 to 7 range right now, which is kind of disappointing for me because I do consider myself a pretty big fan of his work. But like I said, In the Night, Yoshinoya, and Survive kind of make this release all worth it for me. Where did it land for you?
So, like we talked about during the rollout for this album, John, I had some pretty high hopes for this one. I wasn't sure what to expect when it was announced, became even more confused as the singles rolled out, and what we got was a pretty disjointed effort from Gambino that actually had some pretty high highs, but when combined with the low lows on this thing, just kind of left me feeling like there needed to be a little bit more cohesion here. Maybe I don't get it, right? As sometimes his more esoteric music has escaped me, initially at least, but I don't think that's the case here. Hearts Were Meant kind of opens with like quite an energy blast, which is great. Not necessarily, I think Gambino did an amazing job on, but then we transition into a ballad with Lithonia, which is honestly one of the highs for me. Survive has a really great vibe to it as well with the production and his rapping over it. Obviously, Chloe kills her moment on this one as well. I love the cascading like synth arpeggios on that one. Steps Beach is a good track, real vocal depth, really great lyrics. Then he kind of jumps into something completely different with Talk My Shit. Yeah. Now, it's like whiplash listening to this album by this point, man. Bars, good features, even though I'm like not a gigantic fan of Amare, but the line "I'm hot like a throat coat" really resonated with me this week. Got to Be is an undeniable banger, if you ask me. Does it fit on the album? I don't fucking know, but the samples used are immaculate. Fit on the album? It's undeniable, man. That song's a banger. No, I don't know, John, but it absolutely like rockets towards the other sonic direction with Real Love. And while this song is catchy as fuck, it makes me go from like headbanging to like something sweet and lovey-dovey. This continues on for the remainder of the album. In the Night versus Yoshinoya, No Excuses versus Cruisin'. I don't understand the Yeet hype, if I'm being real, bro. Even Happy Survival versus the closing track. A Place Where Love Goes is just like jarring, man. Maybe that was the point, but it didn't really make for an enjoyable album listening experience for me. I like something about every song, but it feels far less like an album than it does like a collection of singles that he wanted to drop to end the Gambino project, which is also fine, right? But like I've said about a number of different releases, maybe this would have been better received by me as a few different EPs dropped subsequently to one another. Yeah. It's somewhere between a 5 and a 6 for me. It's Got to Be or Yoshinoya. Those are my standouts.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair, man. I'm glad we're on the same page with this one. It's weird, man. It just feels like he tried to please everyone and in the end kind of pleased nobody. But if he's pleased with himself, then I guess that's all that really matters, since it's the last, quote unquote, last project under this name. I don't know how much I believe about that, but time will tell. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, new one from Jimin of BTS fame. The album is called MUSE. As a fan of pretty much every solo project the members of BTS have put out over the past few years, Jimin included, I found this release to be just extremely disappointing. There's nothing on it that excites me when I listen to it. It feels phoned in and safe to a degree that I just don't find interesting. These could just be leftover songs that the label is putting out while he serves his mandatory military sentence, but it is not a release I'm going to be coming back to. I got this one in like the 4 to 5 range to be generous. Slow Dance is probably my favorite. What about you?
An interlude, just one track in, John?
You don't like that?
I look, man, I would say that I wish I understood Korean for me to understand more of the album, but if I'm being real, I don't really need that. This is 19 minutes of surface level pop music with surface level lyrics that is juxtaposed by pretty unique production, right? The immaculate mixing and mastering and the extreme close attention to detail. That I'll give this album. It's really polished. I'm talking fresh candy paint job on a hot rod polished, which is fine. None of it interested me though. There aren't any songs for me that like are like bad, but like none of it was good. It's it's between a 3 and a 4 for me. Who is probably my favorite track on the album
Sure.
if I had to pick one?
Sure. Yeah. Throw a dart, man. They're all the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm not going to hold this one on him. That last J-Hope project was pretty weak, too. I do feel like the absence of them is very much felt with these releases that they can't really promote and don't really seem to have much autonomy over. So, is what it is.
Right.
All right, man. New Denzel Curry album, King of the Mischievous South Volume 2. Got to get the Volume 2 in there. I really like this one, man. It didn't quite scratch the same itch as like Melt My Eyes did. A few of the singles felt very Zoo adjacent, so my hopes might have been a little too high for this project in that regard. And like I said, I do like it, just maybe not quite as much as his solo albums. But I love the spirit of collaboration behind this one. And I think most of, if not all of these tracks are really good. Hot One has been pretty heavy in my rotation since it came out as a single. I really enjoy Black Flag Freestyle. I think the that Mexican verse is really good. Set It with Maxo Cream is excellent. Maxo delivers like he always does, and their styles work really well together. Ultra Shit is by far my favorite of the newer songs we got. Feels straight out of Houston in the 90s in the best way possible. Other standouts for me included Sked, Wish List, Hoodlums. Thought it was a solid album, but I didn't really have a lot of notes on it beyond that. I'll say like a 7.5. Hot One and Ultra Shit are my standouts. How did you feel about it?
This is a fantastic record, John. I think I liked it a little bit more than you.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me for a loop when Ultra Shit started. It's sort of like a chill track that's like obviously Denzel just kind of like proving technical abilities. But then Set It with Maxo comes on, all bets are off, bro. This is immaculate. The production on every single beat, Denzel's bars on every track, each and every feature, like showing while they're there while simultaneously not overstaying their welcome. It's 34 minutes of Southern rap that does not relent for a fucking second, bro. By the time Hot One came on, I was sold on the whole thing. That whoom in the bass line, just the way Denzel floats over these beats. ASAP Ferg obviously kills his verse as well. My Bulletproof Vest made out of chinchilla goes so hard for some reason. Yep. It's ineffective, but it goes hard. We obviously talked about the Black Flag Freestyle and how OT Mexican, he just kills everything he touches, right? G's Up with 2 Chainz is great. Even the interludes are fun. This whole album is great, bro. I had so much fun with it. I will probably continue to have a lot of fun with it. It's between an 8 and a 9 for me, actually. My standout is, I don't know, just throw a dart at it. They're all good.
Yeah, maybe I was too hard on it. Money, Dick, and Dollar Signs. Tia Corinne got it right in her verse, I guess. All right, man, let's move on to this new one from Porter Robinson. It's his album, Smile. I think as a longtime Porter fan, I didn't know what to make of most of the rollout for this album. You can speak to that as well. You've been a fan just as long as I have. But also as a longtime Porter fan, I know to just trust the process. It'll all be okay. This is so much different than anything he's done before. And that's a sentence I know that you can say with every new project he's done. There's very few through lines in the music that have carried over from Spitfire to now, though. But the spirit and the creativity behind it has always stayed the same, more or less. It's not going to work for everyone, some of his fans included. Even though I really enjoy this, some of this doesn't even work for me. He posted on Instagram the other day asking people what the best and worst song on this is, and after a while he had to tell people they were being too nice. So in the spirit of honesty, Porter, Year of the Cup fucking sucks, dude. Like, a lot of artists have the sauce to pull off an indie pop song interspersed with an old Lil Wayne interview. You are just not one of those artists. But there's not a lot of other songs I have an issue with on here. But there's a few moments in the back half of this where I think he gets a little too lost in the sauce in terms of thinking his voice is the greatest thing. His voice is very good. He uses it extremely well for the type of music that he makes. But this album feels like it's hitting the limits of how much I want to hear him over pure acoustic instrumentation at times. That stuff aside, I fucking loved this, man. I'm being a little extra hard on it because he kind of asked for it, but I've already run the singles into the ground in terms of how much I've played them before the album came out. I'm sure that I'll still listen to them 1,000 more times over the course of this year. Of the newer songs we got, Perfect Pinterest Garden is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I love the production. I think it's got some of his best vocal melodies on this album, and just with this style of music that he's kind of been working with, I guess if you include Nurtured and Now. Is There Really No Happiness is another standout of mine. I love hearing him over other people's production. It's cool hearing Wave Dash do a little bit of production in that one. And I would just love a full-on collaborative project between Porter, Madeon, and Wave Dash at this point. I think they're all on the same train of thought musically, and would love to hear what they'd create. But getting back to the album, Mona Lisa is interesting, very Metro Station adjacent. It kind of works. I don't know if I want to hear him explore that sound too much more, but it works here. That's about it. I like it. I really like it. I like everything he puts out, though, so I'm not a good barometer if others are like it. I think it... Look, man, I'm going to give it an 8. Cheerleader, Knock Yourself Out are my standouts, but I'm dying to know your thoughts on this one.
All right. Great review, John. I think we all knew going into this that Porter Robinson doesn't have a sound, right? He makes what he wants in the moment that is available to him. That is not only admirable, but it's been working for him, I think, in a big way. People still talk about Nurture all the time. I listen to Worlds fucking constantly. Seeing him play the Coachella main stage this year was really neat, and watching him like perform everything like with a band live, I think really set in stone prior to even getting any singles for this album that we were entering into another new era for him. He decided that it was going to be a pop album, and I think that not only is that a divisive choice, but I think he crushed it, bro. There's just a shit ton of melody, vocal-laden EDM pop tunes that kind of weave in and out effortlessly from soft to cutesy to heavy to poppy and dancey. I think one thing that he does so well is blend everything together, and this album is obviously proof of that, right? It all works. It all invokes like real happiness in me every time I listen to it. It's only 40 minutes, perfect for a pop album. His production skills are on full display here. I'm a big fan of this album, John. I think like You're the Cup isn't like my cup of tea, but pretty much every song on this except for that one really hit for me. It is not anything like Porter Robinson you've ever heard before, and if you're skeptical, listen to it anyways. It's definitely an 8 for me. I think Cheerleader is going to be my standout. I think we all knew it was going to be that one.
Yeah, it's a pixie stick in a song, man. It's so fucking addictive.
Right, exactly.
All right, let's move on to this new album from Soft Play, Heavy Jelly. This isn't just my album of the week. It's my album of the past 2 weeks. I love everything about it. It's got more of the hard punk edge the singles had, and so much more. The way they handle reactions to their name change on the song Punk's Dead is just masterful. Mere Muscles is one of the most fun rock songs to come out this year, but it's not all clenched fists on this album. They end this one with one of the most emotional rock songs I've heard in a while. I'm usually tearing up by the time the mandolin comes in on Everything and Nothing. This is one of my favorite rock albums of the year. It's up in that like high 8, low 9 range. Punk's Dead, Mere Muscles, Everything and Nothing are my favorites, but they are all great. What did you think about this one, man?
I'm so glad you loved it, man. Yeah, the name change didn't slow this band down at all. They just turned their fuzz and rage up to 11 and fucking went for it. The result is an incredibly fun and emotional album. There are obviously some absolute bangers on here that take from like the UK hardcore scene, and there's like a ton of contemporary post-punk melodies on this as well. Like you said, that closer is a real closer as they close the album out on like a really emotional touch, which I love it when bands do that. Yeah, I loved this album, man. It's just it's a ton of fun. Like you said, the name change,
your first time
the way they address it,
right?
Yes,
oh,
yes, it
man.
was.
I was so excited for you to hear it.
Yeah, that's my standout. It's a great song. This is a fantastic album, man. It's an 8 for me. I think my standout's gonna be Punk's Dead. It's a really good one. I kept
good.
Rolling it back, you know,
dude. I mean, it's just perfect. Like you cannot not sing it after you hear it. Come and get a load of these PC, baby. It's so good, man.
Right.
Love them. Yeah, this is fucking excellent. We will be chatting about it at the end of the year in the Albums of the Year category, I assure you. All right, new one from Eagles and Butterflies, Dopamine Volume 2. They had this one listed as an album on Spotify, so I kind of put it as an album, even though Volume 1 was an EP.
Right.
Either way, compared to Volume 1, this body of work is much more substantial. I don't think that always means it led to better results. Volume 1, very compact, and I remember pretty much every song on it hitting, although I haven't returned to it yet. Most of these tracks hit, but it feels like they start to tread over some of the same ground that they've already covered by the end of it. The overall sound of this volume is still house, but there's a really distinct 80s flair to it that I'm picking up on, particularly in the lead synth stabs on tracks like Runaway, which I think is just a great example of that. Even though I didn't love it as much as Volume 1, I still found this to be a really good time. In that 7 range for me, Runaway is going to be my standout. What about you?
I feel basically the exact same way, John. We got some piano house, a little bit of soft acid, but mostly we get him playing around with just a handful of synths, and it feels like hardware. It could just be a plugin. I'm not entirely sure, but it's really neat to hear how the melodies are created without needing to go terribly far outside of a particular box, right? Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot to review, like you said. It gets a little samey, but that's because of the instruments used. I think that that is a great way for creatives to stay creative, which is, I'm going to take this piece of hardware and I'm going to make a bunch of music with just this one piece of hardware. There's a ton of greats that do that. And I think Eagles and Butterfly did an okay job with it. It's a 7, like you said. Like you said. I think Runaway is, I think, the easiest, the easiest one to say is the standout because it's a good one. It's a good one.
I agree, dude. All right, we have 2 metal albums to cap this week off. So first, give me your thoughts on this one from Summoning the Lich, Under the Reviled Throne.
You know, John, like I said earlier, I have not been listening to a ton of deathcore recently, but this one popped up for me as it released on the ever versatile Prosthetic Records. It is kind of a mix of things I love about the older deathcore and the more contemporary stuff. In fact, these guys remind me of old Through the Eyes of the Dead on the technical side of things, but with the added elements of synth and other melodic elements they add to it, really elevate this thing to a crossover episode with the Black Dahlia murder. Naturally, this whole album is directly up my alley. They go incredibly hard. The vocal switches between lows and highs are professional. The whole thing sounds like it was mixed as an early 2000s deathcore album, but the technical abilities of the guitarist and even the bassist on some of these parts are really fucking neat. I enjoy this one a lot, dude. It's an 8 for me. The Void Gate is probably my standout for this one. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, this shit rips. I love how immediately fast-paced and over-the-top it is. The soaring riffs, the blast beats paired with this vocalist dynamic range is a perfect match. The rhythm sections on this album are insane. The speed at which they play is just mind-boggling alone. This album is really, really good, dude. I also have this one in that 7 range. Return to the Soil is going to be my standout, though. I couldn't get over that one the whole album. That shit goes so hard to kick things off.
It's a good one.
One more album to talk about this week. It's the new one from Werewolves, Die For Us. Were you a fan of this one?
You know, man, this is kind of a funny album, if I'm being honest. I loved their album from last year, so naturally I pre-ordered this one as soon as they announced it. It actually came to my door 3.5 weeks ago, so I've been sitting on this one for a while now. Oh, damn. Musically, like their last effort, the album's a really great blend of death and black metal. Very little melodic elements. There are tons of blast beats, really great riffs. Conceptually and lyrically, this one let me down a bit. Quite a bit of cringy lyrics that I don't think will age well, but what even is extreme music if it's not having fun? It's not normally an adjective I would use to describe black metal, but honestly that's what this is. It's a pretty fun listen. Short enough to bump. It's good enough to ignore whatever cringy lyrics are on there, but I really couldn't for the majority of my listening time with it. I'm going to give it a 6, man. My standout, though, is their single Die For Us.
What are lyrics? Look, man, I liked it. Right. I also have it at a 6. We talked about Beaten Back to Life back when it dropped, and I think it's still my favorite on the album. And I think as a whole, the album is really good. They've put out 5 albums in 5 years. I think all of them have been pretty good. That's about as consistent as you can possibly get. Not a lot of thoughts beyond that, man. Just it's quality. It's a 6 for me as well. My standout is Beaten Back to Life.
Nice.
All right, that does it for us this week. We will be back next week covering new albums from Khalid, Killer Mike, Orville Peck, Jack White, Amberlin, JPEG Mafia, and more. You can follow along with everything we'll be covering by following the playlist. The link to that is in the show notes. We update that every week with what we'll be covering on next week's episode. You can also follow along on Instagram and Reddit for all of the latest information. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. We will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.